when I joined that band, the three of us were like, we were just this unit. We weren't all best friends necessarily. And, we didn't see eye to eye on much of
You
anything,
shared
but
that drive.
we had this one, our Venn diagram, that little center circle was kind of small, but it was really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, very focused and honed when you get to it.
Yeah.
Now when, what was the big influence, but from changing it from Mr. Crow's Garden to the Black Crowes?
Well, we got a record deal, and we had Shake Your Moneymaker finished. We were in the studio in the summer of '89 making that record. It was finished. It was going to come out in February of '90, and that fall, the record label came to us and said, "Hey, by the way, we hate your band name. Like, we're not. It doesn't flow well." And it's the truth of the matter is, we didn't like it either, and we had spent time trying to figure out what to change it to, and we couldn't come up with anything we all agreed on.
Any funny spin-offs that you look back on now that stuck?
Yeah, well, while we were making the record, we were in the studio one day, and I remember there was like a legal pad and a Sharpie, and I picked up the Sharpie and said, "Okay, let's come up with a name." And people were firing out band names, and I wrote them all down, and we were called Mr. Crow's Garden, which I thought that was kind of a cool name when I first saw it. By the third or fourth time somebody says, "What'd you say, Mr. Coast Guard?" Then you go, "Well, this isn't really a great name."
Yep.
But I remember writing down on a list of things, a list of names, and so around town, people just called us the Crows. It was like, "Oh, the Crows playing anytime soon?" And it was just Crows. Everything was about Crows, and so we thought, well, let's just be the Crows. And let's spell it with an E, like the way we did in Mr. Crow's Garden. Well, there was already like several bands around the world called the Crows, both with an E and without an E. And then we said, okay, well, let's be the Something Crows. And I remember there was the Stone Cold Crows, and then somebody had said the Black Crowes. And the funny thing is, nobody remembers who said it, but I wrote it down. I don't know if it was me. Honestly, no one knows who first said the Black Crowes. But it was on a list of names. I think Chris thought I remember he said, "What about gasoline? Just the word gasoline for a band name." And everybody was like, "No," but but the thing about band names is, the thing about band names is, a lot of them are terrible. I mean, The Police is the worst band name of all time, but once you hear it three times, you just associate it with the music. It's weird, the ones that work, because a lot of them, the first time you hear them, you go, "Wait, what?" And then the second you hear that song, you forget what the name sounded like at first, and you just run with it. So,
did you say REO Speedwagon?
Yeah.
But all this to say, we were still having this conversation when the label called and said, "Hey, we want you to change your name." That's when we said, "No fucking way. We're Mr. Crow's Garden." Like, we weren't about to let them tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And we dug in our heels. And then at some point, after going back and forth for a few weeks, I guess we had given a bunch of those names. The truth is, again, another thing nobody remembers, but Rick Rubin, who owned the label we were signed to, he didn't sign us and he didn't produce us, but he wrote the check. Fairly significant part of the equation.
Yep.
Rick Rubin called and said, "I like the Black Crowes." And we were like, "No." And I remember saying, like, "Well, it's redundant. What crow isn't black? It's stupid." It's like, it's and he said, "No, I like the Black Crowes." And I remember he told us a story that, like, the international distributor and radio program directors, everyone hates the name. They're already saying they won't play a single by a band called Mr. Crow's Garden. Now, that's not true, but we were so dumb we didn't know it wasn't true, and we were like, "Oh, wait a minute, we want to be on the radio. We don't want people to hate us.
We want fame and money."
And so we all had this. We were actually in Rome, Georgia, at a club, getting ready to play, and Rich is talking to the label on a payphone, and he hangs up, and he said, "They said I got to call back in 10 minutes. They really want Black Crowes." And so I geared up for like this big, we're going to stick it to the man and stand our ground, and no way. And within 3 minutes, we completely caved and went, "Okay, we'll be the Black
Crowes." Hey, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you have to give a little to earn a lot.
Well, and again, this is the same band who we were all furious that they wanted Hard to Handle to be on the album, because we were like, that's like a B-side. We just did that for the hell of it. What? That's not going to be a hit. Nobody wants to hear Otis Redding right now. And, again, a lot of times bands are the last to know what's good for them, and that was pretty much the story of us from day one. We were never our own best advocates.
Wow. And just and it just flowed from there. Like you guys just kept on going and doing well, and then eventually you guys hit a little bit of creative differences and a little animosity, to maybe say the
Well, we
least.
we always had we always were surrounded by great people. We had a great manager. We had great producers. We had great crew. We had our agents were great. You know, we're the rare story of a band that actually had a great career right in front of it. And unlike the replacements, who nobody helped, there's a lot of hard luck stories. We're not one of those. The Black Crowes built an entire path for to be one of those all-time 30, 40, 50-year bands, and within 4 years we were completely, thanks to a million things, ego and addiction and codependency and brothers that hated each other's guts. There was a all internal dysfunction got to a place where we were just the band was just on virtually unsustainable. Yet that desperation that connected us to begin with, we couldn't let it go. We couldn't stop and admit we were in trouble and fix ourselves. And we were kind of too crazy to succeed and too crazy to stop at the same time. And the book is really, there's a lot of high points, and I don't spend too much time talking about like the music, because the music is the music. You can listen to it and you dig it or you don't, you get it or you don't. But what it was like in the band when you were dealing with not just fame and fortune, but more specifically addiction and codependency. Anybody that's dealt with that with a family member or with anybody they worked with or with a friend, your life can become unmanageable really fast when you're tied at the hip to an addict.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's everybody ends up playing roles that they don't even know they're playing. With 30 years of hindsight and a lot of self-examination and therapy and other things that I've gone through, it's perfectly crystal clear to me. But at the time, it was as foggy as anything. It was like truly the fog of war. For 20 years being in that band, we were tearing each other apart. The world was saying repeatedly, we would like the Black Crowes to be really big and successful and great. And the Black Crowes were saying, no, we're going to do it my way, and we're going to do it my way. And we
Yep.
we had every opportunity to right the ship, and we're just never able to do it.
And I found, like, as someone who used to follow your music a lot, I was just amazed to be like, that's it. It stopped. And like, I just felt like you guys continue to build. And obviously, when you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, for a band to stop producing for a while, you're just like, well, what happened to them?
Well, it's I mean, every band is a clown car. Every band is a clown car. There's no getting around it. The greatest records made, and I'm a lifelong disciple of rock and roll music. I love music. It's there's not a close second in terms of the things that have gotten me through my greatest and my lowest points. The only thing I ever wanted to do was be in a band. It's everything to me. And so, but I separate that. Like, some of my favorite records were made by completely shithouse crazy people. Some of the best songs you've ever heard were written by horrible people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's and that's okay. They're not on this earth to be, Nobel Peace Prize winners. They're here to write songs. They're here to play guitar solos. They're here to do whatever they do.
Yeah.
And bands don't have to get along, but bands do have to respect each other. There has to be respect, and there has to be an acknowledgement of everyone's right to see something their own way. You've got to allow, for individual ideas. You don't have to follow every lead, but people, for a band to be successful, like I talk about that Venn diagram where everybody meets in the middle. It doesn't even have to be, if you're a 5-member band, it doesn't have to be everybody gets 20% of that little middle circle.
Yes.
But whatever percentage they do have, the other members have to appreciate and acknowledge the importance of that piece. Like, we wouldn't be the same if you weren't here. The Black Crowes were a really special band in the 90s, and it was a six-headed monster. And we had a problem where two of the band members, individually and collectively, thought, depending on the day, they thought it was a one-man show or a two-man show, but it was never even three, much less six. So they
Mhm.
were at each other's throats 9 days in a row. And then on the 10th day, they decided that it was all about them anyway, and the rest of us didn't matter. And we were all, we're partners. We started this thing. We built this thing. We had a lot of help. and it was, like I say, it was built to last. And the band was at times, as good a rock and roll band as you could ever see. But that internal, who you are is who you are. And if, I was naive enough to think that if we succeeded, it would chill everybody out. Like, well, if we sell 5 million records and our second album comes out at number 1 on the Billboard charts, shouldn't we be happy? And the answer is no, no, we're not going to be happy. We're going to be angrier than we've ever been because, we're just a mess. People, when you get a spotlight on you, it doesn't hide your warts. It illuminates them. Your biggest shortcomings become larger than life. And then when your first album's a success, it's hard to go, well, but it's working. We succeeded, so we must be right. As opposed to, it's not the product of hard work and luck. It's we're great. That was the Black Crowes decided. It just meant that we were great. As opposed to, well, we worked our ass off and we had a lot of lucky breaks. I mean, yeah, we were great, but that's just one reason we succeeded. That's not the sole reason.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of ways, it's a lot of this stuff is, like I said, it's very relatable to anybody who's dealt with addiction. It's very relatable to anybody in any field who's had way too much success too fast. You can establish habits early on that are impossible to break, despite all evidence in your face saying, we need to change our course. We need to change our course.
Well, I mean, it definitely sounds like it is a very interesting read, and just hearing from what you've had to tell us now, knowing that it's not 100% about the music and what's behind the story, would actually make quite a good read. So I myself look forward to trying to grab a copy. Whereabouts is this book sold?
Well, any bookstore can order it for you if they don't already have it. In these days, it's certainly available on Amazon or any online bookseller. Not to mention any actual bookstore can get it. It's it's not self-published. I'm with Hachette, which is a major publisher, and they're good at getting books to people.
Excellent.
Nice.
Perfect. So for all the listeners to keep an eye out for that, let's take this moment and we're going to jump into the next part of our show, and we're going to do 20 questions with Matty G.
Rapid fire questions.
All right, so for listeners who are just tuning in, or who have this is the first episode they've tuned into, what a treat for you. Matty G is going to ask our rapid fire questions with Steve, and he's going to ask him 20 quick questions, and Steve just has to give us the first thing that comes to his mind.
All right, you ready, Steve?
I could do this. I could do it.
All right, here we go. Question 1. Favorite movie of all time?
Miller's Crossing.
Favorite food?
Indian food.
Favorite book?
Boy, it's probably something by Michael Chabon, and it could be one of several, but I'll go with the Yiddish Policeman's Union.
All right. Favorite DC character? I think we touched on this earlier. Batman, right?
I was going to say Marion Barry, the former mayor who was a crack addict. oh, not Washington, D.C. I'm sorry. My bad.
That's awesome. Favorite song from the past year?
It's by that band I referenced called Illiterate Light, and it is a song called Here Lie the Bones of My Favorite Car.
Okay. Beer, scotch,
actually,
or
no,
wine?
No. It's the same band, but I'm going to say it's a song called American Boy.
American Boy.
Okay. Check it out. Beer, scotch, or wine?
Oh, man. It's not wine. Well, beer, but boy, just because it's so easy to get your hands on. But God, I love a good scotch.
All right. PC or Mac?
Mac, stop it. Come on.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Who cares? I like that Star Trek movie from like 10 years ago with that Chris Pine kid. I've seen one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. So poutine or fish and chips? Have you ever had poutine before?
Why would you insult me like that? What am I?
Hey, I just got
to surprised how many of our listeners and how many directors and producers have never tried this.
Oh, well, you're talking to the wrong people. I've gone deep on poutine, but I will say a good solid